Chapter 1: The First Purchase. You're 22. It's a Friday afternoon, 4:37 p.m. The workday is finally over. You walk out of the office building with your first real paycheck sitting safely in your bank account. The air feels different today. Lighter, warmer. For the first time in your life, the money you're carrying wasn't given to you. You earned it. The bus stop is crowded. People are heading home after work. Some look exhausted. Others are laughing with coworkers. You put your earphones in and check your banking app again. Not because the number changed, just because it feels good to look at it. A small smile appears on your face. A few months ago, you were a student counting every naira. Now you're getting paid. It feels like adulthood has finally arrived. On the ride home, your mind starts racing. You think about everything you promised yourself. You were going to be responsible. Save money, invest early, build a future. Avoid stupid mistakes. You'd watched all the finance videos, read all the advice. You knew exactly what you were supposed to do. But then something happens. The next morning, you wake up later than usual. 9:16 a.m. Sunlight slips through the curtains. You grab your phone from the bedside table. The screen has a tiny scratch in the corner. Nothing serious. It still works perfectly. The battery lasts all day. The camera is fine. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. Yet somehow, it suddenly feels old. You open social media. A former classmate is showing off a brand new phone. Someone else is taking mirror selfies with theirs. Another person posts a picture of their desk setup. Everything looks polished, expensive, successful. By noon, you're standing inside a brightly lit electronics store. The cold air conditioning hits your face. Rows of shiny phones sit beneath glass displays. You tell yourself you're just looking, just comparing, just checking prices. 20 minutes later, you're at the counter. The cashier slides a sleek black box across the table. You tap your card. A notification appears. Payment successful. For a second, your heart races, not from fear, from excitement. Walking out of the store, the bag feels strangely important. You keep glancing at it. You imagine showing your friends. You imagine placing it on your desk. You imagine people noticing. That evening, messages start arriving. Wow, you upgraded already? That's nice. You're doing well. And every compliment feels like a tiny reward, not because your life actually changed. Tomorrow, you'll still wake up in the same room, go to the same job, face the same problems. But something else changed. Your image changed. And for a brief moment, that feels even better. As you lie in bed that night, scrolling through your new phone, the room is quiet except for the faint sound of a ceiling fan spinning overhead. You feel proud, successful, like you're finally moving forward. What you don't realize is that your brain is learning a lesson millions of people learn without noticing. Attention feels good, validation feels good, looking successful feels good, and sometimes that's the beginning of a very expensive habit. Chapter 2: The Upgrade Cycle. Months pass. The excitement of the first paycheck fades. The phone you once obsessed over is now just another object sitting in your pocket. You barely notice it anymore. It's Friday evening, 6:18 p.m. Rain taps softly against the windshield as traffic crawls through the city. Red brake lights stretch endlessly ahead. You glance out the window. A luxury SUV rolls past, then a sleek sedan. For a moment, it feels like everyone is getting ahead. Everyone except you. At the next traffic light, you catch your reflection in the side mirror. The shirt you're wearing suddenly feels outdated. The watch on your wrist feels ordinary. The feeling is irrational, but it's real. So you upgrade. A nicer jacket, better shoes, a more expensive gym, nicer restaurants, a better apartment. One upgrade becomes another, then another. Friends start noticing. Looks like you're doing well. You're moving up. And honestly, it feels good hearing it. Every compliment feels like proof that you're making progress. But quietly, another pattern begins. Payday arrives. You feel rich for a day, maybe two. Then rent leaves. Subscriptions leave. Shopping leaves. Restaurant bills leave. Coffee runs leave. And suddenly the money is gone again. One night at 11:42 p.m., you're lying in bed scrolling through your banking app. The room is dark except for the glow of your screen. You start adding everything up. The clothes, the gadgets, the upgrades, the little rewards. None of them seemed expensive on their own. But together, they've consumed almost everything. Your life looks better than ever. Your apartment looks better. Your wardrobe looks better. Your photos look better. But your savings account, that barely moves. And for the first time, a question quietly enters your mind. If I'm making more money than ever before, why doesn't it feel like I'm getting richer? Chapter 3: The Social Media Effect. It's 11:18 p.m. You should be sleeping. Your alarm is set for 6:30, but instead, you're scrolling again. The room is dark. The only light comes from your phone screen. One video shows a penthouse overlooking the city. Swipe. A Rolex. Swipe. A luxury car. Swipe. A 23-year-old claiming to have made more money this month than most people make all year. Swipe. With every video, a strange feeling grows. Not jealousy, something heavier. The feeling that everyone else is moving faster than you. You glance around your room. The same desk, the same closet, the same life. And suddenly, it all feels smaller. The algorithm is good at that. It knows exactly what to show you. What it never shows is the debt, the stress, the failed businesses, the sleepless nights, the panic attacks, the influencer secretly struggling to pay bills, the entrepreneur one bad month away from losing everything. None of that gets posted. The internet only shows the movie trailer, never the full movie. But your brain doesn't know that. It sees the highlights and assumes that's everyday life. Midnight arrives, then 12:17, then 12:43. You keep scrolling. The more you watch, the more behind you feel. And without realizing it, you begin comparing your real life to other people's best moments, your entire year to their best day. And the most dangerous part, you don't even notice it's happening. Because sometimes the race begins long before you start running. It begins at midnight, alone in bed, staring at a screen, wondering why everyone else seems to be winning and why you feel like you're falling behind. Chapter 4, age 28. You're making more money now, much more than before. The promotions came, the raises came, the side income finally started working. A few years ago, this income felt impossible. You told yourself, once I reach that number, I'll finally feel free. But something feels strange. It's Thursday evening, 7:24 p.m. You're eating takeout in a beautiful apartment your younger self would have dreamed about. Floor to ceiling windows, modern furniture, a skyline view. Yet somehow, it doesn't feel special anymore. It's just home. The excitement faded. The nicer apartment became normal. The luxury brands became normal. The expensive gym became normal. Even the vacations became normal. What once felt like luxury slowly became expectation. And expectations are expensive. A few days later, you open your banking app. The salary deposit is bigger than ever. For a moment, you feel rich. Then the money starts leaving. Rent, car payment, subscriptions, insurance, restaurants, weekend spending. One by one, like clockwork. By the time you're done scrolling, the number doesn't feel nearly as impressive. Because although your income grew, your lifestyle grew with it. Then one afternoon, while cleaning out an old drawer, you find a notebook from years ago. Inside are your old goals, savings, investments, freedom. You smile, because back then you believed your current income would solve everything. But standing there holding that notebook, you realize something unsettling. Your income doubled, maybe even tripled, but your freedom didn't. You still need the next paycheck. You still worry about expenses. The numbers got bigger, the lifestyle got bigger, but the gap between what you earn and what you keep barely changed. And for the first time, you begin to wonder, maybe wealth was never about how much money comes in. Maybe it was always about how much freedom stays behind. Chapter 5, The Emergency. It's 2:13 a.m. Your phone rings. The room is completely dark. For a moment, you're trapped somewhere between sleep and reality. Then it rings again. Your heart immediately sinks. Nobody calls at 2:13 in the morning with good news. You answer, a family member, an unexpected expense, an urgent problem, something that can't wait until morning. A few minutes later, you're sitting on the edge of your bed, the glow of your phone illuminating the room. You open your banking app, and suddenly, every financial decision from the last few years flashes through your mind. The expensive phone, the designer clothes, the luxury apartment, the vacations, the upgrades, all the things that made you feel successful. For a little while, you remember the compliments, the likes, the admiration. People thought you were doing well, maybe even wealthy. Truthfully, you thought so too. Until now. Because the balance on your screen tells a different story. If this emergency gets any bigger, you're not prepared. Not really. And that's when the truth becomes impossible to ignore. You've spent years building the appearance of wealth, but very little time building the protection that wealth is supposed to provide. Outside, rain taps softly against the window. The city is asleep. And for the first time in a long time, you're alone with reality. Because emergencies don't care what phone you own. They don't care where you vacation. At 2:17 in the morning, when life asks what you've actually built, appearances suddenly become worthless. And sitting there in the dark glow of your phone screen, you finally understand the difference between looking wealthy and being financially secure. Chapter 6, The Person Who Changes Everything. A few months later, you meet someone different. It happens on an ordinary Wednesday afternoon. 1:24 p.m. You're waiting for a meeting to start. Coffee cups sit on tables. Someone is answering emails. Someone else is scrolling through social media. Then you notice them. At first glance, they seem completely ordinary. No designer logos, no luxury watch, no flashy car keys sitting on the table. Nothing about them screams success. Then the conversation starts. Someone mentions investing. A few minutes later, they're explaining things so calmly and confidently that everyone begins listening, not showing off, not trying to impress anyone, just speaking from experience. As the discussion continues, small details begin to emerge. They've been investing for years. Their house is paid off, no debt, multiple income streams, years of savings. The room suddenly feels different because none of this matches the picture you had in your head. You expected wealth to look louder. You expected luxury. Instead, they look calm. The kind of calm that comes from knowing an emergency won't destroy your finances. The kind that comes from years of good decisions. Eventually, you ask a question. Why don't you buy nicer things? They smile, then shrug. I could. A brief pause. I just don't need to. The answer follows you all the way home. As you sit in traffic that evening, the expensive cars around you suddenly look different. Even your own purchases start looking different. For years, you'd been trying to create the appearance of financial success. Meanwhile, someone else had quietly spent those same years creating the real thing. No applause, no attention, no validation, just patience, discipline, consistency. And suddenly, a realization hits. The truly wealthy often spend very little energy trying to look wealthy. Because when you're genuinely secure, you don't need strangers to confirm it. You already know. Chapter 7. The Two Games. It's a quiet Sunday afternoon, 3:41 p.m. You're cleaning out an old drawer. Inside are old receipts, faded photos, and a notebook filled with goals you wrote years ago when the future felt wide open. As you flip through the pages, you notice something. Almost every goal from your early 20s revolved around things: the apartment, the watch, the car, the lifestyle. You spent years focusing on what success looked like, very little time focusing on how success was actually built. And honestly, most people do. Because from the outside, the two games look identical. Both involve money, both involve ambition, both involve progress. But underneath, they're completely different. Game 1. Look successful. Game 2. Become successful. One spends money creating an image. The other spends years creating value. One buys liabilities. The other buys assets. One seeks validation. The other seeks freedom. The strange part? Game 1 feels better at first. People notice. People compliment. People admire. The rewards are immediate. Game 2 is much quieter. Nobody applauds your savings account. Nobody congratulates you for skipping an unnecessary purchase. Nobody sees the years of patience, the boring decisions, the delayed gratification. So most people drift toward the first game, not because they're careless, because it's the game the world constantly advertises. And before they realize it, a decade passes, still chasing the appearance of a life they could have been quietly building all along.